Have you ever wondered what it would be like to ride an automatic motorcycle? Well, I had the same question, and Honda actually invited me out here to lovely Daytona Beach, Florida, to test out this Rebel 1100T DCT. Dual clutch transmission. So, what's all the fuss with an automatic motorcycle? Is it something that you should consider? Let's take a look at this automatic motorcycle today in our video. We're also sponsored today by Rockform. I'll tell you more about them later in the show. But first, let me explain how this system actually works. Alright, so a traditional motorcycle has a clutch pack right over here on the side, and you actuate it by opening or closing it with a clutch lever that's typically on the left-hand side of the motorcycle. As you notice here, there's no clutch lever on this bike because this is a dual clutch transmission. There's actually two clutch plates on either side of the output gear here, and one clutch plate engages gears 1, 3, and 5, and the other clutch plate engages gears 2, 4, and 6. What that means is that anytime you want, the next gear, either up or down, is ready to be engaged, right? So if you're in gear 3, gears 2 and 4 are pretty much primed and ready to go. So that's a little bit of how this system actually works. In practice, this motorcycle operates relatively similar to a traditional motorcycle. You'll notice here that we actually have the same sort of controls that you'd find on a bike. You have your throttle, your brake, but now on a DCT, you're missing the clutch and you're missing the shift mechanism because this motorcycle doesn't have a foot shifter. It has a shifter right over here. So minus to go down a gear and plus over here to go up a gear. You also have neutral gear and drive, and you can switch between automatic or manual mode. So that's pretty cool that you can actually switch between automatic or manual mode depending on what you're trying to do. There's also a couple different ways to set up the automatic mode. You can make it more aggressive or more eco-friendly, so that's kind of cool too. But in all honesty, the experience here is relatively similar. So let's go ahead and fire this motorcycle up. You don't need to pull the clutch in or put it in neutral because it's always in neutral when you kind of stop it. You can actually put a parking brake on this bike. If I shut it off, you actually pull on this lever here. The parking brake comes on and you can see that light right there, and you can hit this button and disengage it. It's a mechanical parking brake, kind of like what you'd see in a car with the handbrake. So we'll turn this bike back on here. Venerable little Rebel 1100. And I'm in neutral right now, so you can actually electronically select that you're in neutral, and you can kind of roll the bike around just like you would in neutral on a standard motorcycle transmission. Now, if I press the button into drive, I feel the motorcycle actually engage the gear, which is weird for me to not do it, and now I'm in first gear. Weirdly enough, though, I can still roll back and forward. So it's basically like you're having the clutch fully pulled in and in neutral on a standard bike. So the feeling is basically the same. Now what I can do here is, you guys will see, once I roll on this throttle, it's going to start moving because it's pretty much an automatic. And we're away. It's pretty seamless, I gotta say. So the thing I wanted to test on a DCT is the slow speeds, because as a motorcyclist who has basically only ridden manual transmissions, DCT and automatic motorcycles are pretty rare in the world of motorcycling. I wanted to see how it would feel, because normally you're feathering the clutch, slipping the clutch, and providing power slowly to the machine. But it's actually really interesting. This motorcycle, it provides the feeling of slipping the clutch, but through an automatic means. So I notice here that if I were to completely stop, and if I were to just gently go forward like this, it really feels like someone is slipping the clutch and actually just kind of letting it out very smoothly, which is really interesting. This is a really weird experience, to be basically perfectly slipping the clutch but to have no clutch at all. In slow speed conditions, because I'm used to operating a clutch, it's the type of thing that feels really odd, because as I come into here, my hand is definitely going to grab it, but I think with time you become more used to the fact that there is no clutch here. Now I will say it is a little bit more kind of herky-jerky than a traditional manual transmission in this automatic mode. We'll see here as we accelerate a little bit out of this complex, just shift it up into second there. We're having to release ourselves from some of those NPCs that were hanging around over there. And it seems to have a lot of electronics and sensitivity built in, because it seems to know when I'm leaning over and when I am actually getting on the gas and trying to do something. We'll see here. I'm going to hang a right on this road and see how it does whenever we get it out on the road and actually accelerate through some gears. Looks like that guy's stopped, so we'll go ahead and go. Second, third. It just does it for you. That's so weird. That is so bizarre. Braking here a little heavier to see what it'll do, and it seems to really wait to grab first gear. Seems to really want to wait to grab first. Doesn't want to grab first unless you're under 5 miles per hour or something like that. And I've got it right now in the automatic mode with the kind of most sporty settings, right? I got full power, lowest traction, lowest engine braking, and the D mode is cranked all the way up, so it's hanging gears as much as possible. But the interesting thing is you're actually able to shift gears in the automatic mode if you wanted to. So I'm here in 4th gear, and because it's a DCT fully automatic, I don't have to let off the gas to grab a gear. I can actually be rolling here on the throttle and just grab down 3rd, grab down 2nd, and there you go. Just press the clickers here and it's doing the job for you. And then because I'm still in automatic mode, I'm crawling to a stop here. It's going into 2nd gear. It's gonna wait. Yep, there's 1st gear. 1st gear feels a little awkward, I'm not gonna lie. It feels a little bit clunky when you're going into 1st, because if you were operating a manual transmission, as you're approaching a stop like this, you would just have your clutch pulled in and you'd be grabbing gears down and kind of very effectively slowing the bike just with the brakes. You don't have to always engine brake. Sometimes you can just cruise to a stop with the clutch pulled in, simulating that neutral feeling. So I am now going to get this motorcycle into manual mode and keep talking through some of the settings here on this thing. Let's get into it. Guys, quick interruption for today's video. It is proudly supported by Rockform. You guys have probably heard us talk about Rockform on the channel before, but we love what they do. Rockform makes an amazing phone case, but it doesn't end there. The Rockform case can be utilized in so many different ways. It's magnetic. It can go on a phone mount on your bike with a vibration damper as well. And the whole Rockform ecosystem becomes available to you once you have the phone case. Fans of the Yam get 25% off by hitting the link down below. No code required, but if you do have to put in a code, use YN25 to get yourself 25% off Rockform products. Thanks for them for supporting today's video. Now back to the show. All right, folks, let's put the Rebel 1100T DCT into manual mode, or as I would like to say, let's put this bitch into sport mode. You press the A/M button here, and you'll notice that the user D disappears. So now we're in full manual mode. The bike's not going to do anything for me. It's not going to change gears for me. Interestingly enough, it does seem to have some limitations as I'm slowed here at this red light trying to turn right. I can't shift up while I'm still, right? In a normal manual transmission, if you wanted to, for whatever reason, you could pull in the clutch and grab gears up as much as your heart desires. It's going to make the bike harder to leave from a stoplight, but you can totally sit there at 0 miles per hour and grab up to 6th gear if you choose to, because that's the whole point of a manual. All right, folks, pulling away here in manual mode. Let's see. Yep. I can toggle the switch here. Grab a gear down. Grab a gear down, be a little more sporty with it. And I gotta say, off throttle, those downshifts feel nice. They feel real good. To be honest, they feel better than an auto blip system. Auto blippers sometimes feel a little clunky, a little like they don't want to rev. This transmission feels really nice on downshifts off throttle. But the cool thing about the DCT is that you can select gears kind of whenever you want. You don't have to be off throttle. It just simply feels better. So we'll do this again. We're pulling away in 1st gear here. We're going to grab a gear up into 2nd, into 3rd. And I will say, it's not as satisfying to use as a quick shifter system, right? Which is basically a semi-automated halfway step to a fully automated gearbox. Go here on the brakes, grab a gear down. Feels good. I don't know if it's the nature of the transmission or the Rebel 1100. It's been a while since I've ridden this platform. We gave one away in 2021, so it's been a minute since I've ridden one, but I find the on-off to be a little snatchy. That might not be the transmission's fault, but the Rebel didn't feel quite like this if I remember correctly. Now, cool thing is here, you can be in the gear you want to be in. So if I want to hold second gear all the way through that sweeper, I can. Then I'll click up into third, click up into fourth, power my way onto this highway, and we are now cruising. Cruising on this highway now. Can be in sixth gear. Now, one thing I want to test is if I can switch into automatic mode on the fly, and I think I can. So let's see. If I roll off the throttle, yep, I'm now in fully automatic mode, which is nice. Now, I have it in fully automatic mode again, and the thing I want to test is in kind of stop and go traffic like this. Well, it's not really that stop and go, but kind of accordion traffic, right? You're slowing, you're accelerating, you're slowing, you're accelerating. I want to see if it'll do the thing that automatics typically do, which is if you mash the accelerator, it'll grab down a couple gears. So let's see if in the sporty mode here, if I want to accelerate a little bit, what it will do. So we'll go ahead and maximum throttle. Goes down into fourth. Yeah, just like an automatic transmission in the truck or a car or something. That is such a strange experience on a motorcycle. Now, it seems to be kind of stuck in fourth gear because I think it thinks I want to accelerate some more. So let me jump off the throttle, see if it goes back into sixth. It's still in fourth gear, even in automatic mode right now. Still in fourth, still in fourth. Okay, I guess we have to manually tell it to cook it back down to sixth. So that was interesting. It didn't want to go back down into sixth gear for me. So a little bit of quirks and weirdness with this transmission. I'm not gonna lie, it's not a 100% perfect thing. This is a relatively new system. Honda first introduced this in 2009 on the VFR 1200, if I remember correctly. So it's only been around for about 14 years or so, and Honda's the only company really doing this. And yeah, I think it's a really interesting transmission choice. Is it taking away from the experience for me? Sort of, but I will compile my final thoughts in today's video later at the end. For now, let's keep enjoying the manual mode. Switch it back over to manual mode. We're in manual mode again. Got this traffic coming to a halt here. You can grab a couple gears down. I will say, as a, you know, kind of long-time motorcyclist with automatic or manual transmissions, it is odd to me, you know, to when I'm slowing down, I'm going for the shifter, I'm going for the clutch. I feel a little unsafe with this system just because I'm not used to it, you know. If I was more used to it, I wouldn't feel any type of way about it, which I'm sure if this was my motorcycle and I had it for a week or something, I would be very used to it and I would really come to appreciate what it can do. So I want to see what this transmission does when you kind of feed it a couple twists and turns. Now, I am in Florida, so twists and turns are something of a limited commodity here in this state, but I will report back with how this motorcycle feels when you're flicking it over from side to side and what that automatic transmission does in those scenarios. All right, folks, on a bit of a twistier road here on the Rebel 1100. There's really not too many twisties in Florida, as I mentioned, but it seems that when the bike is cranked over on its side, it holds the gear. It doesn't like to shift gears while you're in the middle of a corner, and it can kind of tell when you're trying to be sporty in automatic mode if you're in fourth gear and you're kind of just rolling on the throttle, having some fun. But as soon as you kind of let off and kind of cruise back a little bit, the bike tries to go into the highest gear possible. As soon as it can, it's trying to be in sixth gear, which is really not the way that a motorcyclist would ride. Like, I would never be in fifth gear going 40 miles an hour, but it does seem to clunk into first a similar way to what I would do. But yeah, it seems like the automatic mode tries to just go up into sixth as soon as possible, try to conserve fuel as much as possible. And as I mentioned to you guys, you can actually change the parameters of that mode pretty easily. I'm gonna go over here, select my full power. I'm gonna cycle over to the D mode, and I'm gonna drop that down to the least amount right there. And we'll see, you see here, I took off, I'm in I'm in 4th gear going 30 miles an hour, 5th gear. This is like some sort of eco mode that the bike can do. And that's pretty interesting that it has that as an option. I find it to be very boring to the way a motorcycle should be ridden. But I guess if you're trying to chase MPGs, which you will have to do on this Rebel because the tank is so small, and if you're touring with it, you're going to want to conserve as much as possible. It really makes it to be quite the economical little vehicle. And you'll see here, if I crank on the power, it just stays in 6th. It will not downshift no matter what. That was a good 50% throttle there. Won't give me a gear down. We'll try it again. 6th gear. There we go. At full gas, it dropped it into 4th gear, going about, you know, maybe 30 miles an hour, which again, as a seasoned motorcyclist, what I would have done is chop the throttle, grab maybe down to 3rd, and then laid into it a little bit, you know? So a little bit different. Another nuance I wanted to add is if you put it in manual mode, which I'm going to do right now, to grab gears up, you can actually, if you let off the throttle, it feels more natural. We'll go here coasting into this braking zone here. I actually have to make a left here at the street. Off throttle, on the brake, grabbing gears down, it feels good, but it feels much more natural when you're grabbing up gears if you let off the throttle and grab a gear up and go back on it like you would a traditional motorcycle. But I gotta be honest, I think that Honda kind of missed the mark with this by not doing a foot shifter. I guess they're going for the super accessible type of thing, and so with the most accessible being finger controls here, that way that, you know, if someone who's operating this vehicle doesn't need to pull in a clutch, but you still need to futz around with a plus and minus here for the gears. So realistically, from a disability and ability standpoint, this is the same as doing this, to be honest, you know. I understand the lack of a shifter, you know. If you have limited mobility to do this, then sure, this is a good option, but I don't know, I don't really see the benefit of this system over a semi-automated system with an up and down quick shifter. If you have an auto blipper down and a quick shifter up, you got to let out the clutch for 1st gear. That's really nice, you know. I don't really see the point of having a motorcycle that can shift gears for you in this very specific way. Like I said, an electric motorcycle is the type of thing where you just have one big gear, so you're kind of just stuck in that one big gear, whereas this actually shifts the gears for you. That's very unique in the world of motorcycling. There's not many bikes that actually have a transmission with gears and it will actually shift for you. That was so awkward. But it does feel better if you do it that way. So I'll grab a gear down here. We're in 2nd gear. If I go... I kind of get that feeling of a real motorcycle, but it's such like diet soda versions of it, you know? I like those downshifts though, those are nice. Now obviously one of the big benefits of having an automatic is romping away from stoplight and not having to launch anything, so let's give that a go. Let's see what this thing can do. I'm just gonna freaking pin it right off of here. There's a low chance this thing's gonna wheelie or loop me, so I'm literally just gonna mash the accelerator. I'm not gonna do anything. Now that's a good launch. all right, I'll give it to the DCT. If you're trying to launch, that's pretty good. That's probably better than any launch I've done. That was pretty awesome. Doesn't get bogged down at all. I really think a DCT Rebel kind of 0 to 60 off a dig is pretty tough to beat. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty impressive. But I don't know, I miss the experience of grabbing my gears with my leg and engaging my whole body. My left foot feels so bored. I've just got it dangling in the wind here, and I really wish it was doing something, man. But the bones of the Rebel are still good. You know, this is a really torquey, fun engine, but truthfully, I would still get the manual transmission. Like I said, a automated manual with a quick shifter system, an auto blip system, Guys are really good nowadays. I mean, I think about something like the MV Agusta's Recluse system, where you don't even need to pull in the clutch, you know? You have a semi-automated gearbox with an up and down quick shifter and a Recluse clutch, so don't even need to pull in the clutch when you come to a stop, and you still get that visceral feeling of the manual transmission. Dropping down a couple gears here, flicking it over. That is so funny to be on a motorcycle and to be shifting awkwardly like that with the DCT, because it feels like an awkward shift in a car, which is a totally different type of transmission, because motorcycles have sequential gearboxes and you can't really get that like awkward sound. But I can do it here with the Rebel, which is so funny. So that's kind of the impressions on twisties and a little bit more on the manual stuff. I'm going to report a little bit more back to you guys, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, boys. Go ahead and kill the engine. We can still roll to a stop in neutral, which is interesting, even though it tells me first gear there. Alrighty. Beautiful golden hour here in Orlando, Florida. Final thoughts on this DCT transmission thingamabob. Honestly, guys, it's a bit of a novelty. I don't really see a world in which a motorcyclist should choose a dual clutch transmission on their motorcycle unless they have some physical impairment that really limits them from operating a traditional transmission. I think that if you get a DCT, you're going to miss out on the ability to ride a lot of different motorcycles. It will mess with your idea of how a motorcycle should be controlled, although this bike, like I said, in slow speeds operates basically like a normal motorcycle. But if you don't learn how to slip that clutch and finesse that clutch, you're not going to be able to ride a whole lot of other bikes other than Honda DCT bikes. Ultimately, I think that it didn't add anything to the experience, really, of riding a motorcycle. In fact, to me, it took away, distracted, and detracted from my experience of trying to enjoy this machine the way it's meant to be enjoyed with a traditional transmission. However, is it all bad? No, it's not. Honda definitely deserves kind of a pat on the head, a slap on the back, whatever you want to call it. They're doing a commendable job in trying to make motorcycling more accessible, and I can't fault them for that, man. I think it's really cool to make motorcycling more accessible to people, more interesting to people, you know, who maybe don't want to operate a transmission, maybe who want the ease of experience, but they still want something that looks cool they can be proud to own. So that's kind of where I see the DCT falling in the world of motorcycling. I personally would never own a DCT motorcycle. I'm just going to be completely honest. I also wouldn't really own any other form of automated motorcycle. I think that, for example, MV Agusta's smart Recluse clutch system with an up and down quick shifter, it's just not really my bag. I want to be a little bit more involved when I'm riding my motorcycle. I love the feeling of being able to control the power of the rear wheel with the clutch. I like the feeling of finessing the gears and engaging my whole body in riding a bike. I feel disconnected when I'm riding these automated transmissions, especially this one where I got nothing to do with my left foot and I got nothing to do with my right hand. It is a little bit boring, if I'm not going to lie. But again, thanks so much for Honda for inviting me out here to test the Rebel 1100T DCT. It was my first time riding an automatic transmission motorcycle, and I gotta say, it was an interesting experience. Again, big shout out to Rockform for supporting today's video. They definitely came in handy today while I was out on the road. I was using them a lot before my phone died, which I definitely need a new phone because my battery is awful. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for checking out today's video. I hope you appreciate it. Hope you learned something. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.
I got a bone to pick with you. You're out there doing all them dang wheelers on your H2s and your Groms and your Hayabusas and all that. That ain't gonna get you nowhere. You gotta take action. You gotta get yourself fixed up. You gotta find Rossi. You gotta find God. Click this video right here over on Yami New. You keep watching yourself these videos. You're gonna get fixed. You're gonna get saved. You're gonna get fixed today.